This is TVRI News, bringing you the latest reports and views from throughout the Indonesian archipelago. I'm Fifi Aleida Yahya and Eko Junor. We give you the highlights and the latest on the 1999 MPR General Assembly as we go live to the Parliament building.
And in other news, the U.S. government shows its readiness to help in transporting Timorese refugees back to their homeland. But first, let's take a look at tonight's headlines.
Megawati Soekarno-Putri wins the race against Hamzah Has as the new Vice President of Indonesia. Earlier before the voting, Akbar Tanjung and General Wiranto decided to pull out of the vice presidential race.
And world leaders extend their congratulations to Indonesia's new elected President Abdurrahman Wahid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Saya bersumpah
And those were the headlines. Now we go over to Fifi for our first report on the withdrawal of two vice presidential candidates.
Thank you, Eko. Megawati Soekarno-Putri wins the race against Hamzah Has as the new Vice President of Indonesia. Megawati wins 396 votes, Hamzah has 284 votes and 5 abstentions. And shortly before the voting started, Golkar party leader Akbar Tanjung and General Wiranto withdrew their candidacies from the vice presidential race at today's parliamentary meeting. Akbar Tanjung, nominated by his party, said that he made the withdrawal for the sake of the nation's unity. Meanwhile, Indonesian Defense Force Commander General Wiranto, who was nominated by the United Umat Sovereignty Party faction and 74 members of the People's Consultative Assembly, also withdrew from the vice presidency. In a letter read by MPR Speaker Amin Rais, Wiranto said that he made the decision as an expression of the love for the nation. The withdrawal of the two vice presidential hopefuls leaves Megawati Soekarno-Putri, nominated by the People's Awakening Party faction, and Hamzah Has from the United Development Party faction to fight out the vice presidential election. The start of vice presidential election was delayed to 2 p.m. at the request of several groups in the Assembly.
A number of world leaders extended their sincere congratulations to Abdurrahman Wahid, familiarly known as Gus Dur, as Indonesia's new elected president. Those who congratulated him included the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, Japanese Prime Minister Keizo Ubuchi, Australian Prime Minister John Howard, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad, His Excellency Sultan Salahuddin Abdul Aziz Shah from Malaysia, and Venezuelan President Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias. U.S. President Bill Clinton expressed his readiness to cooperate with the new president and the Indonesian government. According to Clinton, Abdurrahman Wahid or Gus Dur and the Indonesians have the right to be respected for their implementation of the democratic process, which has allowed peaceful changes in government. Japanese Prime Minister Keizo Ubuchi wished that the new government under Abdurrahman Wahid will continue the country's reform movement. Meanwhile, Australian Prime Minister John Howard said that Australia is willing to amend its bilateral ties with Indonesia that have been recently tarnished by East Timor. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad hoped that the ongoing ties between Indonesia and Malaysia could remain close. Abdurrahman Wahid was elected yesterday by the People's Consultative Assembly with 373 votes.
And now for the latest update from the activities inside the Parliament building in Senayan, Jakarta. We go live to TVRI's mini studio for tonight's highlights of the 1999 General Assembly with TVRI's Priyo Sutioko.
Hi and good evening, I'm Priyo Sutioko reporting live from the Parliament with the latest update on the General Assembly. After many hours of consultations and lobbying, Megawati Soekarno-Putri has won the Vice President seat. Megawati Soekarno-Putri won the Vice President race over Hamzah Has and became the 8th Indonesian Vice President. After a long and tedious process from a total ballot of 685 where 5 abstained, Megawati Sukarno Putri won 396 votes, 112 votes ahead of Hamzah Haz, who received 284 votes. Also, Megawati Sukarno Putri is scheduled to be sworn in later on tonight at 8:30 p.m. Western Indonesia time.
This morning and throughout the day, there was much uncertainty as to who is eligible to the important role of Vice President. After Megawati lost to Abdurrahman Wahid, there were civil unrest throughout the country. Meetings and consultations began last night, lasting throughout the day, and the assembly was delayed upon the suggestion of the Golkar faction because they felt that there were too many candidates. The delay lasted until this afternoon at around 2:30. Secretary General Afif Ma'ruf then announced that the 4 candidates were Hamzah Haz from the United Development faction, General Wiranto, chairman of the Reform Golkar faction Akbar Tanjung, and Megawati Sukarno Putri of the PDIP faction. However, a few moments later, Akbar Tanjung dramatically announced his withdrawal with a rousing tribute to the country. This was followed by Chairman Amin Rais reading a letter from General Wiranto also submitting his withdrawal from the race for vice presidency. That left Hamzah Haz and Megawati as contenders. Tomorrow, for the first time, Indonesia will see 2 new heads of government who were elected democratically. The nation's fate lies on their hands as they both lead the country out of the prolonging political, economic, and social crisis to a better future. This is Adiriani Sutrisno, Arita Sunaryono, and Dawas reporting for TVRI News.
Following delays and interruptions, the Speaker of the MPR, Amin Rais, said that the MPR factions nominated 2 candidates, Megawati Sukarno Putri of the PDIP and Hamzah Haz of the People Development Party. TVRI's Arita Sunaryono filed Megawati Sukarno Putri's biodata, the People and Assembly's choice as the next Vice President of Indonesia.
Megawati Sukarno Putri, the first daughter of the late President Sukarno, is viewed as many a simple woman who has been the target of criticism by her opponents who doubted her political intellectual. After losing to Indonesia's first democratic presidential race on Wednesday to a close friend, the 59-year-old Muslim scholar Abdurrahman Wahid, Megawati, the most popular woman figure among the people, accepted the decision and respected the assembly majority support. Megawati, the chairman of the PDIP, received 313 votes over Gus Dur's 373 votes. With no college or doctorate degree, Megawati leads the 153 seats in the MPR. Born as Diah Permata Megawati Sukarno Putri, she proved that she is capable leader in her own right, despite her late father's name. At a very young age, her father often took her to stage functions and had external and internal political discussions. During her school days, she was involved in the Indonesian National Student Movement, or GMNI. Megawati went to the Pajajaran University, majoring in farming, and the University of Indonesia, majoring in psychology. She started her involvement in political realm in 1987 when the Indonesian Democratic Party, then chaired by Suryadi, sought for a vote figure and also to tap in the emotional links of Sukarno supporters. Despite early reluctance to the family to be involved in any political forces, Megawati accepted Suryadi's offer and joined the party and became a member of the House of Representatives from 1987 to 1992. The party's Congress in Medan, which was filled with internal conflict between Suryadi's camp and Alex Asma Subrata, has made Megawati rise as an alternative contender as the party's chairperson. She was deemed as an appropriate figure who can bridge the 2 opposing factions. The Medan Congress ended in a deadlock and continued with Special Congress in Surabaya. At the Congress, which did not run smoothly, Megawati was picked by 256 of the 305 PDI branches. She then declared herself that de facto she was the chairperson of the party. Should Megawati Sukarno Putri won the votes of confidence as Gus Dur's vice presidential running mate, the match would bridge the people's aspirations closer to the top legislators. A new governance in search to achieve a better condition who originates from the people is accountable, responsible, and has a strong sense of integrity. May the next 5 years be the moment for development and advancement for all Indonesian citizens. Congratulations, Ibu Mega and Gus Dur. This is Arita Sunaryono reporting from the Parliament building.
And now for the latest development, an update on the plenary session. We go over to TVRI's Devianti Farids for a live report. Go ahead, Devi.
Thank you, Priyo. Recently, the General Assembly has just announced the name of the new Vice President of Indonesia, which is Megawati Soekarno Putri. Megawati won by a landslide, gaining 396 votes, while Hamzah Hass of the United Development Party gained 284 votes with 5 abstain, totaling up to 685 votes of today. After the ballot counting, the MPR members will proceed with the taking of oath of the new vice president here at the General Assembly Hall later tonight at 8:30 p.m. During the 2-week General Assembly, Indonesia has witnessed the most democratic parliament sessions and presidential elections in 4 decades. If we look back in time, the most democratic polls happened in 1955, and that was the only one until June of this year. After 32 years under the New Order regime, Suharto had achieved in developing certain fields, yet has failed in accommodating the aspirations of the people. Later, former President Habibie had laid the platform of reforms needed to create a free and just and democratic general elections, and also the formation of a new government. At this moment, the Assembly has momentarily adjourned to continue with the taking of oath, which I said before will continue at 8:30 p.m. here at the General Assembly Hall. The election of the new heads of government from different parties, the Muslim-based PKB with the National Awakening Party and the nationalist PDIP, hopefully will lead to the formation of a strong coalition government. Tonight marks the end of the General Assembly of 1999, yet it is still the new beginning for the nation. So let us unite and rebuild our beloved nation again. This is Devianti Farids reporting live from the MPR building, and back to you, Priyo.
Thank you, Devi. Chairman of the MPR, Amin Rais, stated yesterday that the newly elected president should follow regulations stipulated by the MPR decrees. Failing to do so, the president will be charged for accountability. Here now is the excerpt of his statement.
Yeah, I think it is clear that one of the functions of the MPR, of the People's Consultative Assembly, is to supervise the execution of the guidelines of the national policies as made by this assembly. So if a president does not do his or her job well, or he or she flanks to come up with the programs as endorsed, as made by the People's Assembly through the guidelines of the national policy, and then I'm as the speaker of the Assembly can call a national session of the Assembly to ask the responsibility of the president. If the president, after being held responsible, cannot defend his or her job, probably we can impeach him or her. Yeah. Is possible in Indonesia? Oh yes, most probably, according to the possible amendments of our constitution, the MPR will be given right to impeach a president. Yeah. And this is a good development for us.
Indonesia's new president, Abdurrahman Wahid, began his term of office today after being sworn in last evening. Last night, 14th plenary meeting, newly elected President Kiai Haji Abdurrahman Wahid, also known as Gus Dur, was sworn in before the entire assembly and nation by a member of the Supreme Court. Sarwata, witnessed by MPR Chairman Amin Rais along with his 5 deputies. In his first speech as the 4th President of Indonesia, Abdurrahman Wahid expressed his respect to Megawati Soekarno Putri, who understood the situation. Furthermore, he spoke of the enormous weight of responsibility that has been entrusted to him, especially in facing the challenges in global competitiveness and maintaining the free trade system. However, to improve the nation's living standard, Indonesia will adopt its own system, he said. Following the presidential swearing-in ceremony, President Abdurrahman Wahid left the plenary session accompanied by former President B.J. Habibie. Many small and middle-scale retail businesses have created a bazaar located on the ground floor of the Parliament building. A large number of stands are set on a section, the ground floor of the Parliament building, with a variety of products at reasonable prices provided by small and medium-scale cooperatives. The items displayed include souvenirs of the session, such as umbrellas and watches, T-shirts, keychains, and caps with the inscription, the 1999 MPR General Session. The administrator of cooperatives, May Suharliatin, said that total sales so far of this year are bigger than last year's sales, because previous sessions were held only for 3 to 4 days, while this year the session runs for close to 2 weeks. Since today is the last day of the session, there are more people visiting the stands. May Suharliatin hopes that the MPR cooperative can continue holding such bazaars in similar events. And that ends our highlights from the TVRI mini studio in the Parliament. We now return to TVRI with Fifi and Eko for more reports.
World trade volume at the moment totals $35,000 billion, while Indonesia has reached $50 billion. The Minister of Cooperatives said that there are many business opportunities not only for large entrepreneurs, but also for small and middle-scale cooperatives. The development of small and middle-scale entrepreneurs still encounters many obstacles, which cause much of the marketing problems, while their larger competitors have products that are handled directly by major enterprises who have an abundance of capital and have established exporting channels. So far, the Reform Cabinet has succeeded in increasing the role of those cooperatives, especially the number of workers, up to 88%. This was forwarded by the Minister of Cooperatives, Adi Sasono, following the opening ceremony of the Export and Tourism Product Exhibition held yesterday in Jakarta, with the intention to expand business networking for small and middle-scale cooperatives to enable them to reach the international market through direct contact with foreign buyers. The exhibition is being held at the Lapangan Banteng in Jakarta from the 17th until the 24th of October 1999.
The United States government expressed their readiness to provide transport aircraft to transport at least 7,500 refugees back to their homeland in East Timor. This was stated by the United States Ambassador to Indonesia, Robert S. Gilbert, after meeting with the Coordinating Minister of People's Welfare, Haryono Suyono, today in Jakarta. Ambassador Gilbert said that the U.S. government will request the support of the International Organization for Migration, IOM, to prepare transport aircraft with a bigger capacity. Of the total of 270,000 refugees, at least 7,500 refugees from East Timor that sought safety in East Nusa Tenggara expressed their willingness to return to their homeland. 4,000 refugees have already been returned to East Timor. At the meeting, Ambassador Robert Gilbert also expressed his support for the actions of the Indonesian military in safeguarding the refugees' evacuation to East Timor. Minister Suyono said that to meet the people's basic needs in refugee camps in East Nusa Tenggara, the Indonesian government will cooperate with the International Red Cross and the UNHCR in distributing food and other basic supplies for the refugees. And that's the news for tonight. Tune in again tomorrow evening for more news and information on TVRI. I'm Fifi Aleida Yahya.
And I'm Eko Junor. Thank you for joining us, and
good night.